Welcome. Welcome to another Monday. I am back. See, there's a couple people in the comments already. I'm doing the show solo tonight. Wesley has a couple of things he had to do this evening, so y'all are going to have to keep me occupied in the comments tonight, I guess. Keep me moving here a little bit. Buttermilk biscuits, cool. So Sunday, I had the last comp of the season for We Rock. That was pretty fun. Took this Pro Mod, the Harley Rockabilly Pro Mod down, and ran this for the first time. It's not complete, but it was complete enough to drive. So that was cool. First course, first time driving the truck, got a perfect score on the first course, so that was cool. Second course was a little rougher. Made a couple of stupid driver errors myself. Third course, the negative wire for the BEC came off the plug, and it was kind of connecting and disconnecting and shutting the truck on and off, and so I had to fix that, and I ended up timing out on the last course. So put me in third for the day, with a negative 9 total. So 40-something points on the last course would have been much better if I hadn't have done that. So now I just got to go back over everything. I know I've got a couple of loose rod ends on the front end here. The screws backed out of stuff. It's not tight anymore. The behind the axle steering mount is loose as a goose on here now. Yeah. So I've got a couple things to go over on this. Like I said, it's not done anyway, so this truck's going to get tore all the way back down to nothing and rebuilt and finished the proper way. But it was definitely fun to drive. This truck's going to be good. Yeah, wiggle. The screws that go into like the diff carrier, the third member, that screw's completely missing. So the only thing holding the behind the axle steering mount is the one upper link screw. is the only thing holding that on there. So that's where a lot of this front axle movement is that behind the axle mount moving around. So, but anyway, it was super fun. I really like this truck so far. Unlimited, I ended up with another course with a perfect score. And then, so I think what I ended up with for the day, a negative 89 or something like that on the day with the unlimited truck. So again, super cool there. That was fun. Good way to end the season with a couple of good scores. And I now have a first, a second, and a third place little plaque from Scale Metal Supplies from the comps. So, did I blow a bead lock? No, all the tires are on. I know a guy that throws away perfectly good hardware. Yeah, me too. I throw away all my old hardware. I actually have in this bin over here I just scooped everything off of right here into a bin, like with a bunch of zip ties and stuff. This is all the zip tie mess from the fixturing process of that Pro Mod. So yeah, I have purple zip tie tails literally everywhere right here. I'm not sure that I can pick them all up. They're literally just here. Rob was there. Rob puts on the events. Second time running his Pro Mod was much better after tweaking it. Yeah, new truck blues, man. They get you every time. I was still putting that truck together on Saturday to go comp it first thing Sunday morning. So C1 at Crawlapalooza, I finished 31st with a minus 65. Dude, Crawlapalooza scores, it's like if you hit one gate at Crawlapalooza, you're outside the top 7. Like the top 7 have 2 reverses or 3 reverses. It's all on time usually. So, yeah. But anyway, super fun event. Glad I went. I was considering not going because it was going to be freezing ass cold in the morning. When I left my house, it was like 28. And I'm like, I don't know that I really want to be out in the cold. But it ended up being a really nice day. It was like 60-something and sunny all day with no wind. It was great. So hopefully next year I can do the whole series. I don't know how many they had this year, but I'd like to hit all of them next year. And it sounds like Crawler Canyon in Illinois is going to be doing like 3 rounds this winter with the buggies, so I'll probably do those 3 rounds as well, assuming everything works out. Scale Hero was legit. Sorry to miss you. Had to go down to AZ and get me a trophy. Yeah, I wish I should have gone. It was one of those things where like I had just enough to do around here to justify not being able to leave town. It's just that just didn't work out. I wish it would have. If I had like 2 less things that I had to do, I would have been there. But the Pro Mod wasn't even close to being done. The Unlimited truck was in a bunch of pieces. I could have put it back together. Why I wasn't missing any pieces, but yeah, I'll go next year. Where's your better half? He had a couple of things going on tonight, so just me. If he pops up, I sent him the link to the live, so if he gets everything done and wants to pop in, all he's got to do is just click the link, and I'll pull him in here. So I will only be able to hit 2 of the 3 at Crawler Canyon. I'll miss February. I'll have to pull up the dates again. I know 2 of them were like the same day a month apart, and then it was like the 14th, the 9th, and the 9th or something like that. I don't remember. I'll have to pull up the dates, and if it's on a Sunday, that would be helpful. Actually, if it's on a Saturday, it'd be even better for me. But let me see if I can pull up the dates real quick. I know they posted their schedule. January 12th, February 9th, and March 9th. So what's January 12th day of the week? Is a Sunday. Yeah, they're on Sundays. That's fine. The worst part about going that direction for me is just that it's a 2-hour drive and a time change. So like, when I leave there at 4:00 their time, it's 5:00 my time. I don't get home till almost 7:30. And 4:00, leaving at 4:00 their time is usually a real short day. Like Friday nights, if I go over there on Friday night for a comp, I don't normally leave there till midnight their time, so I don't get home until almost 3:00 my time. But Sundays, hopefully it's like a morning, get up at the ass crack of dawn and leave to get over there, and then get out of there at a reasonable time. I'd like to travel to some more of the We Rock events, see more of the scenes from other places. Yeah, definitely get out and go. 3 hours for me in the time change, 4 hours in Michigan, and a time change also. Yeah, but it should be worth going. It's normally worth going to run, Sorca type, your class 1, 2, 3 type trucks. It's a good time over there. I wish it was like an hour closer. Same thing with going down to Lebanon though. That's a 2.5 hours each way, but it's on the same time zone at least, so it makes for a long day. I spent just as much time driving in my 1-to-1 truck as I did there yesterday. So 5 hours of driving and 5 hours of being there really makes for a long day. So today I was working on skid plates for something for Wesley and I. We got prototypes done of that stuff. The team drivers saw it in the team chat. One step closer to new products. I think we're going to skip this small batch, like the first of the month drop this month, because of potentially, well, I know we're going to release new product. I just don't know the day. But so I think we're going to skip the small batch stuff this month and just go into some new product. Do they run the actual We Rock rules over there at Canyon? They haven't done any events yet, but it says using We Rock rules. So that's what the post said. Where was the post at? I don't know. I'm pretty sure they said the running We Rock rules, which will be helpful. Joining while driving tonight. That'd be why you spelled driving incorrectly. Use text or talk to text or whatever. It'll be better for you. Josh was working on the scale engine for the Pro Mod. It looked like it's turning out pretty good. Wrong hardware. I'm going to go ahead and pull some of these temporary body panels off of this thing and set them to the side. Make room to work on stuff. How's it going? It is going. There is an aspect to the time commitment going to an off-road race, maybe an hour driving on track versus the many hours driving to the event. Yeah, most of our races, like the Ultra 4 races and Trek and IXCR and all that stuff that we've been racing over the last 10 years, it's like the closest race to me is like 3 hours away. So yeah, I mean you're spending 6-7 hours driving to get to a race for an hour. It's pretty wild. But there's certain races that it's just the terrain and the place is worth the extra drive. How'd the Rockabilly do this weekend? Are you using Dig? I finished third on the day because of an electrical issue and just made a couple mistakes. But yes, I am. I'm using the VFD Twin, so I've got both digs. I've got the Colorado Adventure Club 6% dig in this one and in the Unlimited buggy. So dual dig is the only way to go in my opinion. It just works really well. And having the having it be easy to adapt to dual dig. Like, I never even thought about doing dual dig on a transmission before I saw those guys do it. And I'm like, duh, that makes total sense. And the fact that it bolts right in, there's no modifications at all, it's nice. What's not nice is how hacked I've got the electronics and interior into this thing to get it passable to be able to drive it yesterday. The file for the seats wasn't for the VFD Twin. It was for the regular VFD, the way Josh is running his. So there was it's a first test piece too. So there was some clearance issues with the dig linkages and stuff. So I had to grind and cut on a bunch of the, like, all of the driver's seat mount is gone. So it's like really flimsy. So I just shoe gooed the seats to the shift servos, and the electronics are all crammed in next to this door. So I took some craft foam and shoved between the seat and the door, and that's where the ESC and everything is. So I'll pull this side panel off and show you how just like packed in there all this stuff is. It's no wonder I had an electrical issue after seeing after knowing what I did to cram everything in here. It's really not surprising I had electrical issues. I mean, if the black craft foam versus the black seat and the black carbon fiber, it really blends in pretty well. It's hard to see unless you're really looking for it. Has anybody figured out how to torch braze one of the build-along cages? I torch brazed this one. You just have to be smart about torch angle, and you know what joints you're going to do it all at the same time. The fixtures for the unlimited truck I could use them one more time, but again, I was being really smart about torch angle. Metal panels, geez, I wonder. No, they're carbon fiber. Carbon fiber. So here's all the electronics. So like the ESCs right here. I've got these Muse headlight or lights on the front. The controller for that is like right here up under the dash. My receiver's right here under the dash. The ESC and the BEC are crammed in over here. You've got a shift servo here and another shift servo here. It's like there's an awful lot of shit packed into that little area. And like I said, I was trying to just get it done quick the day before a comp. I didn't even glue this piece in. This was my electronics, hiding my electronics in the door. I'm going to keep that just because. I don't think this seat is even screwed down to anything. No, it's not. It's just shoe gooed to the... Dang, that shoe goo is really holding there. Just shoe gooed in to the servo. It peeled part of the servo label off. The BEC just hanging here. This right here is the BEC. You can't really see it. It's a tiny little BEC. If it fits, it ships. That's right. That wiring gives me anxiety. Messy wires is a huge pet peeve. I don't disagree with you. I'm not a fan of messy wiring. However, I wanted to get this thing done so that I can drive it. No, I lost. There it is. I also had to draw up a quick dash because the dash Josh was working on was for the regular VFD, and the twin sits in a different position in the chassis, so it wouldn't have worked. So I just made the most ugly block, rectangle-y dashboard that I could, and printed a steering wheel. Again, just to make it function. What servos are you using? For steering, I'm using a Holmes SHV 650 LP. And then for the shift servos, I'm using just like the cheapest Amazon micro servos. The only time these little low power micro servos are an issue is like if you've got the rear dig engaged and you have it really bound up, like you were dragging the rear end and you got a tire like real bound up, it doesn't want to release. Usually, sometimes, but to get it to release, if you just like wiggle the steering a little bit and get the chassis to move a little bit, it'll unlock. So it's not ideal, but it does work. I'm not sure how I'm gonna get the driver's seat out because it's screwed down to the mounts and it's shoe-gooed in, but it's screwed down to the mounts underneath the driver, who is shoe-gooed to the seat also. I think I'm going to try on the mount, which I don't think was super tight. No, it's not. I suck at wire management. I'm not usually the best at it, but I'm also not. I do pay attention to it. The wiring on the Jimmy's buggy was pretty difficult. Man, wiring tube chassis buggies is kind of tough to hide all the wiring. There's a lot of wiring going on in a little area, especially with both of these trucks. The Jimmy's buggies, you got 5 channels: your front and rear steer, dual dig, and steering and throttle. It's a lot going on in there. So you can see the bottom of the seat mount here is all cut and ground on. Like there's virtually nothing there left holding it. Again, it was just to make it function. Should I just go ahead and pull all the wiring out? I think I should just go ahead and pull the ESC back out of here. I gotta fix that wire. So if I'm doing that, I might as well just pull it all the way back apart. But where are my cutters? Use hot glue next time you want a temporary hold. Yeah, I don't trust hot glue enough to hold on it during a comp. I don't think. Not sure I would trust that. I don't trust hardware to hold stuff half the time, let alone hot glue. Get some of this wiring pulled out of here. I did take the shift servo wiring. Here's a tip for you. If you take if you're trying to hide shift servo wiring or you want wires to stay in a certain place, if you put heat shrink on them and you heat the heat shrink up and you move the wire into the position you want it to stay, while it cools, it'll stay there. Like these, this right below this bar right here, the servo wires from this servo cross over right here. And as long as the heat shrink cools in the shape you want it, it should stay there, which this one did, thankfully. And more purple zip ties. I got zip ties everywhere. The good news is that if something falls off the rig, we just stop time, pick up, and move on. Yeah, or someone. Yeah. Use a big old glob of hot glue. I like my shoe goo. It works well. And you can peel it back off. It doesn't hold that strong. Oh, looks like I should have gotten that. Should have put one more zip tie on that servo wire. Brand new servo wire runs right next to the spinny revolver. Got a little close, it looks like. The ESC I'm running is the Holmes Crawlmaster HV, which I did find out immediately when I plugged it in that the factory BEC in this is just barely enough to run the receiver only. It will not run the receiver and a dig servo. So I did put an external BEC on it, and that was my failure, was the external BEC wire. Right. Yep. Right here. Yeah. Can't see it, but it's off. So that's cool. Gotta fix that. Is that a V2? Those have a very weak 5-volt BEC. It's the new HV, which I thought had a better BEC, but clearly it doesn't because I had to put an external one on it just to run the shift servos. But I run a direct power steering servo, so I wasn't worried about that. Yeah, I got into that servo wire pretty good with the motor. I'm gonna have to put some heat shrink over that. That's not gonna survive. I know I'm gonna have to take all of this back out, so I might as well just go ahead and pull it all back out. Because the fuel cell that's in the back of this isn't the final one, and the shift servos mount to the fuel cell, so I might as well just pull it all the way apart. I wonder if my V2 is going to be the same. More than likely. Castle Nano BEC. Yep, that's a good choice. No West tonight. Nope, not yet. We'll see if he pops in. I actually love the OG V2 for the 5-volt BEC as it runs in ESP32 for maximum LED fun. I just run these two front lights, and I don't normally run any lights at all, but they just fit really nice. Reefs has a new plug and play BEC. Yeah, I don't. It's too big. The BEC I run is this big. Just a wee little BEC, and it's 5 or 9 volt. Yeah, and this isn't even the smallest BEC I have. The one in my jimmies. I'll get this tore apart. I don't remember where the BEC is in the jimmies. I don't know if I even have another one of those BECs to show you. But it's like half the size of that BEC. How many amps at 9 volts? I don't know. I'd have to look it up. It's enough to run 2 shift servos. Two micro or mini shifting servos. And the receiver. Let's see. See if I can find it real quick. Let's see. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Search. They are up to 6S capable, 5 to 9 volt output, 2.5 amps, 2.5 amps at 5 volts max. So they run pretty good. It's not the most powerful BEC you've ever got, but they definitely work. And those are just on Amazon. It is this on Amazon. Oh, you're not going to read that. Yeah. Okay. So I just search micro BEC 6 to 30 volt, and it's a 3-pack for $15. So you can't really. I don't know if you could really go wrong with that. And I've never had one fail either. So I've got one left in the package over there. But the one that's in my Jimmy's is probably a third the size of the one I just showed you. It's tiny. But I don't remember where in the Jimmy's it is. I think it's under the dash, which if it's under the dash, I'm not pulling the freaking dash out of that truck. I think it's either under the dash or it's behind the door. And if it's behind the door, I can show it to you pretty easy. But if it's under the dash, I'm not doing that. But I want to get this torn down first. It has the pot to adjust the voltage. No, so it's either 5 volts or 9 volts, and there's just a little there's 2 contact pads, 2 solder pads on the BEC, and if you want it to be 9 volts, you just connect the 2 solder pads. You're just jumping a connection to make it 9 volts instead of 5. So the way Josh is working on designing this, the shift servo mounts to this battery box. The battery box sits right behind the B pillar. This shift servo mounts to the battery box. The other shift servo mounts to a little bracket that mounts to the same location on the side of the chassis. Like the rear upper link riser area has these 3 holes here, and it all mounts to that, which is pretty easy to do. I mean, clearly I haven't been working on this very long, and it's almost tore apart, almost torn all the way down. I'm going to go ahead and pull the transmotion out of it. See if I can't lose both drive shaft set screws before the end of the night. What are you using for linkages? Whatever I have laying around. These particular ones, I just cut a piece of 4mm brass rod and threaded the ends because I didn't feel like writing a program for the Swiss to do it. So just a piece of 4mm OD brass rod and just run a die down it. So is this the new favorite, or would you still vote C1 or C2 as your favorite? I think C1 is still my favorite. I really like the way a good Class 1 truck performs. But these are super fun to build. I really like the build more than I like the drive half the time, I think. So these are equal parts fabrication and assembly, and it's almost dummy proof because Josh is making it that way. He's making it dummy proof for guys like me. So I think I still like C2 better, or C1 better, but this is a close second between this or the Jimmy's actually. Transmission's out. Put that back in my bin. I like the Scale Metal Supply shift servo mounts for the dual setup. They sit just behind the trans, super compact. Yeah, Scale Metal Supplies has some. I was working before Scale Metal Supplies released his. I was working on some, and I think Colorado Adventure Club was too. But like, this just bolts right on to where the shift arm is, and then the servo mounts in it. So Scale Metal Supplies mounts them vertical. Mine were laid flat. Just depends on like the chassis layout. But yeah, it was super fun. Fun to design that part too. My favorite part is they are scale yet very capable. No bent links, big old skid, a dolly that can keep up with the cheater rigs. Yeah, they're definitely fun. The weight makes them perform more realistic. Having them, they have to be a minimum of 7 pounds. Where my comp trucks were normally like 5.25. So it's a different driving style for me too, because like these trucks don't like to bump up ledges where normal class 1 or class 2 trucks, if you get up to a ledge that hits the skid, you just kind of bump up it. These don't usually like to do that very well. Jack, how's it going? If C1 was simplified like these classes, would that make comps that much better? I don't think that man, Sorka has been around for so long that I don't think that they could simplify their rules without. There's too many people that know how to make them perform well now. So it's like, I don't think they could go backwards with too far with the rules. Every single one of the Sorka rules is there because of people like me, finding gray areas and things like that. So like, I don't think you could simplify C1 down to these type of rules. And honestly, I think that these rules are going to get more and more. They're gonna end up having to add wording to these rules because, not necessarily because I'm going to say because of people like me, just trying to find performance. Any 25-degree skid cheater rails? No, gross. There's no reason to have 25-degree skids. Operating in the area of gray. Yes, if it's the way every competition works is the rules are black and white. Anything that's not in black and white is fine. But I know their intention with these rules is just to have fun, and right now that's what everyone's doing, is everyone's having fun. But it's going to get more and more and more competitive every season, and the more competitive it becomes, the more rules there's going to have to be. When I see 14 pages of rules, I walk away. I've been playing competing for a long time. When they change something year after year mid-season, I'm out. Then everyone has their own version. Yeah, so the Sorka rules now, I would say the number of clubs using straight Sorka rules is probably pretty slim now. Everybody has their own kind of little spin-off of the rules that they run for their local classes to just allow for a little bit more inclusion. It's hard for a new person to show up to a comp, decide they want to run, and be able to interpret the rules in a way. I'm not saying that a new person should be able to walk in the door with a brand new build, never comped before, and win. However, I think it should be a little easier for them to build a legal truck. There are, pages and pages and pages and pages and pages. I think the Sorka rules is like a 50-something page document now, so it's difficult. Until someone loses and gets butthurt and whines about somebody cheating versus exploiting a loophole. That's how every single rule in Sorka got made, is because somebody cried. Whether it was justifiable or not, fact is that someone cried. right now, for me, this is a welcomed change to the type of trucks I was building, because everything I built before was, lightweight, high clearance, as performance minded as you could get it, and then make it look quasi scale at the end. Where now, we're building trucks that look a lot more realistic from the jump, and it's just a welcome change of build. And I don't ever get to do, it, a lot of tube work or anything like that on a Sorca build, because it's all too heavy and performance detriment. So it's fun being able to bend tube and weld stuff together, and just doing something different than what I've been doing for 10 years. And realistically, I mean, as complicated as these trucks are, they come apart pretty quick, come apart pretty easy. Take a long time to build, but they come apart pretty quick. I'm like 2 screws away here from dropping the skid with the axles attached. And then I'll pull a door off of the Jimmy's build and see if I can find that BEC. It appeals to me for the scale look. The scale look is cool, and they still function really well. I don't think they perform like my Class 1, Class 2, or Class 3 trucks do, but they definitely still perform well. So there's the bare chassis, other than the lights are still in it, which those are a pain in the ass, so I'm not taking those off. Putting those lights on was the worst part of the whole thing. Yeah, this front mount was on its way off. There's only one screw holding this steering mount on there. Stay. I love how David does flags with the string and the yogurt containers for boundaries. Andre Scale Metal Supplies has some banner, has some little, they're like the thin, tall, orange and white, like, I don't want to say they're cones because they're not cones, but you know what I mean, that he had set up yesterday at the event. It looked pretty cool. Oh, this hobby is all about the building for me. I get the most enjoyment sitting at my bench. It's relaxing. It's relaxing and fun, but it is a wallet-sucking hobby for sure. I think my 1-to-1 Jeep costs me less money than these stupid things do. Which, speaking of Jeep, I drove my truck, my Ram, down to the event yesterday, and I was like 10 minutes into my drive, and I was like, man, I should really drive this truck more often. You almost forget how shitty driving a JK is until you drive something else that's not shitty. And now I want to drive my truck more often again. I'm going to make some this weekend, fired up the old Silhouette. There you go. If you need stuff printed, just let me know. I've got an actual vinyl printer here, so if you guys need stuff done, let me know. Have printer, will print. So the BEC is not in the door, which means it's under the dash, which means I don't think I want to pull the dash out to show that. But I do need to tear this truck down because my gear mesh is a little not quite right. And there's really not a good way to adjust the gear mesh in this truck without like really working at it. So I think I'm going to have to do that. I have my Amazon G-Made R1 budget build. Definitely cool. Built from all spares. So we've talked about that one before. Someday I'll try welding and fabbing a cage. Dude, fabbing the cages are super fun. Josh will tell you what they're called. Yeah, I don't know if he's still listening or not. You print the vinyl and cut it out all in one go. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Everything gets done all at once. I got tired of paying other companies to screw up my stickers for me. So I decided to spend like $4,500 on a printer and cutter and laminator and all the stuff to screw them up myself. So yeah, we got a big ass wide format printer taking up a lot of real estate on the shop floor that could get put to work. So now I'm tearing apart 2 trucks, which means I've got 2 trucks worth of hardware. 2 trucks worth of hardware sitting here on the table too. That's how you do your bag tags. Yes, that's how I do my header cards. I've actually got the file pulled up on my other computer because I've only got like 10 of those header cards left. So I'm going to be printing those. I'm going to hit print before I walk out the door tonight, and there will be a bunch of them ready in the morning when I get here. Josh would just sweep them into a trash can. Yeah, I normally would too, but a lot of this, I don't have a lot of these countersunk M2.5 screws. I think I've only got like 10 left in the package. I need to order more, so I don't want to throw these away yet. So that's all the panels off the Jimmy's buggy. But even with all the panels off it, like this wire here, you don't fall off the bench. This wire here is for the volt gauge. This right here is a volt gauge. So that's for the volt gauge. This side, all you can see is just the servo wire right here for the rear servo, the rear steer servo. Everything else, the wires for the motor, for the electric motor, they turn up right under here, under the skid, and they go beneath the floor, up under the dash. Everything on the Jimmy's is under the dash. On mine, everything's under the dash. So, and the receiver's tucked in the front with the battery. You should sell sheets of the wrap you have on your Jimmy's. The smiley face ones. These ones. I could do that. I can print a bunch of them. Tell him to put the dang Ecotech up on the site. He should. The thing about the Ecotech, the mounting wouldn't be universal. You'd have to figure out mounting it yourself, which, wouldn't be that big of a deal. I'm really excited for the engine for the Pro Mod, because that's going to be a sweet piece when it's done. If any of you are in the Pro Mod build along, he posted it in the Discord last night or the night. Yeah, yesterday afternoon. It looks super cool. Man, getting to this one dash screw is kind of a pain in the ass. I plan to modify it for a 500 can, 50 millimeters. So I've got a standard, a Holmes 1900 or 1800 revolver, not a stubby. and I had to do quite a bit of clearancing to get it in there. Getting the dash out of this thing is kind of a pain in the ass too. Been slowly working on my own anyway. That's kind of the way to do it. I want to wrap the inside of the panels on my Pro Mod with some sort of vinyl to stop resonance. You could do that, or you could flock. You could do some flocking in it. So here's the dash and center console and passenger side out of the jimmies. What's the worst aspect of building these buggies? Printing the jigs? The worst part? The worst part is messing up. The worst part is burning the end of a tube that's not easy to take back out. Like when you're welding everything together and you get to a point and then you mess up a tube that you can't cut back out, it's like, oh, it makes you want to throw the whole thing away and start over. Or wiring. Yeah, wiring is a thing on these. So I can see the BEC in this one now, and actually this one has the same BEC. I thought this one had the little. No, it does. This one has a little BEC. Let me trim the heat shrink off of this BEC and I'll show it to you. This BEC is that big. This is the entirety of the BEC. So, but this one is only 5 volt. I might as well just go ahead and tear this one down too. It's got some, I've got to reset the gearing on it, the gear mesh on it, and that requires basically full total teardown. Wire brushing the cage clean of braze slag is the worst. Sandblasted my cage, made it easy. I built mine out of stainless because I didn't want to have to sandblast it. I don't like the texture that sandblasting leaves, even on steel or on stainless. I don't like having that texture on the cage, and I don't like painting my cages because they just get all chipped up and shitty looking in pretty short order. So I typically build in stainless so I don't have to mess with that. The gear mesh in this is a little off, but I need to figure out why this thing is so freaking loud compared to, there's another guy at where we comp, Todd, with a Jimmy's buggy, and his isn't half as loud as mine is. Mine sounds like it's got a speaker just blasting the engine or the motor noise back through it. That and trying to get this Ecotech out is kind of a chore also. But I kind of did it to myself because I messed up the threads on one piece of it. and in doing so, it made me have to put lock nuts on in places where you can't really get tools to them. Which makes things a little bit more difficult. So some of the hardware goes in from the top, some of it goes in from the bottom, and it's not supposed to be like that. Some of it's M2 tool, some of it's 2.5. I needed to go back through this and fix some of this stuff too, but I didn't want to tear it apart during the season. Didn't want to tear it apart during the season when I know I wanted to use it some more. How much air do you need to run the Harbor Freight Sandblaster? You need a fairly steady supply of air to run any blaster. This piece should come off now. This is the little rear bumper radiator exhaust guard dealie. Now I need to get part of the fuel cell out of there. I got to pull the oil pan off. The Ecotech on these is kind of a pain in the ass, if I'm honest. But it looks really good. Runs off a medium-sized vertical compressor. Not as bad. Yeah, the blasters aren't typically as bad as air tools, but they still require a reasonable volume of air. Oh, don't know where that screw went. There it is. Fuel cell is out. Oh, we're getting real close to 9 o'clock here. Got a couple more minutes to get this oil pan off, I guess. I shouldn't have put all the freaking screws in it. There's a lot of little hardware that holds these oil pans on. Use the hardware for like the beadlock rings for all the oil pan hardware. You guys got any other questions for me tonight? Shoot them in here real quick. I think once I get this oil pan off of here, it'll be just about time to go. I'll have to deal with all this hardware in the morning. I'll have to bag it all up in the morning because I'm not doing it tonight. I've got a big bead blaster over, like, back in the corner of the shop back here. I think I've used it once or twice in 5 or 6 years now. I just don't usually bead blast stuff anymore. Any other builds in the works other than potentially the pending release chassis? Not for me currently. Just the Pro Mod. No custom skids this time for the Pro Mod. No, you can use the regular VFD, the VRD carbon skid, or you can use the Jimmy's skid for the VFD twin. Either way. Hate to be that guy and ask a non-RC question, but is that a LNS bar feeder attached to that machine? Yes, it is. LNS servo load S2 attached to my Kia SKT21. It's dual spindle live tool. I mean, you know what you're looking at, but yeah, dual spindle live tool, 12 position turret with half stations. Been super happy with this machine. It hasn't given me too many troubles. And on my Swiss, I've got a RoboBar 3800 or 3200. I don't know, RoboBar something on the Swiss. I got 12-foot bar loader on the Swiss. Damn, I can't get this out of here without taking the exhaust off. Frick! And you're totally fine asking non-RC questions in here. We don't have to talk RC all the time. But since you are in here, these are very pretty 2.2s, man. Very happy with them. I need to get some. I'm going to put a set of West Desert Wheeler cut and shuts on those and run this in 2.2 next season also. I've got some .014 end mills at work that didn't have a protective cap. Luckily, none looked broke. You don't sneeze on them; they'll be broken. 2.2s, yes, those are Vision 2.2s. Very good looking 2.2s at that. There's a guy down at the comps that has a bunch of Vision wheels in stock. He brings them to the comps and sells them. Oh, sheesh. Okay, Ecotech out. You can see I threw a rod through the side. You can see some light through the back of that. When I was clearancing and grinding for this revolver, it got a little thin. So dinner time, gotta go. Catch you next week, RC Fabricator. I'm about to get out of here myself too in a couple minutes. Yeah, the case, the housing on this motor, you can see the shiny spots. It was still rubbing inside there, so I'm guessing that's where some of my noise is from. Got some fairly sharp edges, and because the gear mesh doesn't seem that far off. So he'd be dremeling. Yeah, the Dremel got away from me a little bit there. I will admit that. The Dremel got a little out of hand. So I'm wondering if I don't need to just Dremel a little bit more out of this. That could be where all the noise is coming from. I thought the gear mesh was a little loose. I thought either that or I know the spur gear is rubbing right here. I know the spur gear is rubbing there. So that's some noise. We've got some 3D printer fuzz from the rub, and there's actually a hole rubbed in it. So that's some noise. The motor rubbing on the engine is some noise. So got some things to do. But it's after 9 o'clock tonight. I think I'm going to get out of here. Get out of here for the night. I'm going to click print on some header tags and then hit the road and get home. It's been a long day. It always is on Mondays. I normally get here about 7:15. So 7:15. It's 9 o'clock now. I'm ready to go home. Thanks everybody for checking in on me on my lonely night here and keeping me talking. Put some sandpaper on the outside. It'll self-clearance. That's not a bad idea. Just run it on the bench with some sandpaper, some emery paper around it. So anyway, thanks for hanging in there with me on my solo night and keeping me moving, keeping me talking here. It's always good chatting with you guys. Should be back next Monday like it never happened. And Wesley should be back then. So Have a good evening, everybody. Thanks for checking in on me, and we'll see you on the next one. Later.